Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to start our meeting. Will the clerk please call the order?
Here, but it's hard to hear you.
I'm here as well, but I'm with Nan. We can barely hear you.
I'm here as well, and you can hear everybody else on the phone, but it's really hard to hear you.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Art Fish.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
Laura Lockett.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, Trevor, everyone, can you hear me pretty good or no?
Yep,
I can hear you well.
great.
Okay, good. So maybe it's the other mic that's not working. So what we'll do now is take a quick second or two here to review the minutes of April 6th and let me know if there's any issues. Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
This is Dale Miller, and I will second.
Okay, seconded by Dale. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, we'll move on to contracts and awards.
First item, BC 2020-213, Department of Development submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Economic and Community Development Institute in the amount not to exceed $47,475 for call center services to support Cuyahoga County Small Business Resource Center for the period April 3rd, 2020 through May 31st, 2020, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning. Paul Hertig here for the Department of Development. This contract will support the operation of the call center part of the county's Small Business Resource Center. The call center work is provided by our partner Economic and Community Development Institute using a subcontractor, and they're currently operating this with 4 full-time agents, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, as well as some support staff. We checked on their call volume, and as of the close of business Friday, they had received over 500 calls, of which about 350 had been able to connect to a live agent, and those agents gave information, connected them with partners who are experts in various aspects of dealing with COVID, and also gave information on the county financial programs, which are now accepting applications. So we believe it's going to be necessary to continue this service through the end of May. After that time, we'll reevaluate and see if it's still necessary or if we can continue just with the website and with the partners who are still helping small businesses.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Are there any questions on this item?
This is Dale Miller, and just a comment that there is a lot of confusion, uncertainty, and questions about the federal programs and the county program, and the call center is very much needed. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about having this capability available, and so I support the contract.
Okay, hearing no further questions, I'll make a motion to...
Mike, it's Trevor.
Sure, Trevor, go ahead.
Do we believe this will be eligible for federal reimbursement with the stimulus or the CARES Act money?
Trevor, this is Paul. I don't know. We'll certainly make every effort to submit it for reimbursement, and we'd love to get that if we can.
Okay, and then the next part is related to this being a walk-on. This just the detail says this hasn't gone through the entire approval process yet. When do we anticipate that being completed?
Great. Thank you, Trevor. And again, without trying to get too complicated here, as kind of noted in an email last week, the Chief Ted Carter actually used his mission critical authority to award the contract for the first 2 weeks, and that is actually well along in the Lawson process. We actually have that signed contract back, and it's being loaded in. But we've been advised by OPD that rather than just extending the contract through the end of May, we should do a brand new contract. So we'll be working with the law department to have a brand new contract signed, but it'll go in on Lawson under that RQ number, which is already in there, and the attachments are in, and it's well along in the process.
Trevor, any further questions?
No, thank you.
This is Nan Baker.
I have a follow-up question, but I'll defer to Nan first.
Thank you. It's just, we received the press release, I believe, that gave the go-ahead that this will be available as of Friday. But we also got a draft brochure that illustrated it also. Do we have the brochure that is now no longer a draft and one that we can forward to those that to push it out to other businesses? Are we at the final stage of that brochure?
Councilwoman, I will check with the communications office on Friday. They were revising it not to change any content, but to make sure that the style and the appearance of it was in terms of all the county standards. And I will check and make sure that's been finished so that can be officially released now.
All right, if you can let me know. I have sent it out to a few, and one noted that it was a draft. So I want to make sure that what I'm giving them, at least in content, is correct. And if you have an updated version, if you can make sure we get it, I'd appreciate it.
Will do.
Thank you.
Councilman Miller?
Yes, my follow-up question is whether we're going to have a mission critical at the end of the meeting today to provide the initial 2 weeks for the call center.
Not for that
Again,
one. Go ahead.
I defer to OPD. It was their determination, I believe, and I believe that they checked with Joe Nani on this, that council, or I shouldn't say council, that the advice was to convert it to a single contract so that it would no longer be put through as mission critical. That's my understanding of how OPD advised us to proceed.
Hello, Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. It was our understanding in the agenda review that the Director of Development issued a time-sensitive mission critical that had not been presented to the board or had not been completed within the Lawson N4 system. At the time of the summary at the agenda review meeting, it was indicated they needed to amend that time-sensitive mission critical to add the additional funds to make sure that the call center will have continuity. Since the original contract that was authorized as a time-sensitive mission critical was still with the vendor and had not been uploaded in the N4 system as part of the PO process, it was determined at that time for efficiency to just do one contract that combined the dollar value of both. And since the time-sensitive mission critical had never been presented to the board, although it had been authorized by the Director of Development, it was determined to just present one item which included the value of both the time-sensitive mission critical plus the additional funds that were being proposed at the Wednesday meeting. So the caption is the merger of both of those actions that's being presented to the board today.
Councilman
Okay.
Miller?
Thank you.
That's good? Okay, good. Hearing any further questions, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale Miller, and I will second.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-214, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on a purchase order to iCore Technology in the amount not to exceed $66,585 for the purchase of one mini-caliber robot for the Lake County Bomb Squad.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And this piece of equipment will be used by the Lake County Bomb Team to remotely move, open, and safely manipulate any suspected IEDs. We did issue a formal bid, and we're making a recommendation to the lowest cost vendor.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Is there any questions for Mary Beth on this item?
Yes, this is Dale. And my question is why it's fiscal year 17 state homeland security funding. That's pretty old money.
These grants are actually open for about 2.5 years. This particular grant does not close until June 30th of this year.
Well, that may be, but why did it take us this long to get this up and running?
Actually, this didn't. One of the things that happened on the State Homeland 17 grant is that we were able to get a lot of the projects done under budget. And so what the state allowed us to do was to take projects from the State 18 grant, move them over to the State 17 grant, a law enforcement grant, so that we could actually get more done and not have to turn any money back to the state. And then in turn, what happened is we came up with new projects for State Homeland 18 law enforcement.
Okay, well that's helpful. And my next question is, what kind of a situation would result in there being IEDs located in Lake County? Are we thinking about some kind of a terrorist situation?
Well, I would point out that Lake County does have the Perry nuclear power plant. Also, there are some major companies that are in there, Lubrizol, you have Steris and that could be targets. So as part of the grant process, they do what's called a THIRA, where they actually go, each county has to go through and actually look at what their potential threats are. So this is one of the preventative measures that Lake County does to make sure they're equipped in case something happens.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, item's approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2020-215, Agency of the Inspector General, recommending an award on a purchase order and enter into a contract with Wingswept in the amount not to exceed $43,647.90 for software support and maintenance for the case management tracking system for the period April 23rd, 2020 through April 22nd, 2022.
This is Mark Griffin, Agency of Inspector General. This is a 2-year contract for the software that runs our office and maintains case flow for all of our cases, investigations, complaints, ethics inquiries, and educational process. It manages and keeps our files as well for our vendors' approval process. This was subject to informal competitive bidding and awarded to the lowest bidder. It comes to about $22,000 per year, which was substantially less than anything else that we could find in the market. This vendor has been providing us services since 2012, and so this is a new contract, but an extension of services that have been provided to us for the last 8 years.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question or two. To the Inspector General, how many companies informally bid on this?
On this one, we had one other inquiry, and no one else bid on this one. 2 years ago when we looked into this, actually last year we had a renewal, and we asked for renewal options, and we had 3 people bidding, and the cheapest that we could find was about $60,000 per year as opposed to 22, and not including the cost to migrate over the data. So this was our only actual bidder on this. We couldn't find anyone else who was willing to bid, although we did have inquiries.
How much does the contract amount going forward compare with what we're currently paying?
It's a little bit of an increase. I believe it's about an 8% increase over what we have paid in the past.
Councilman Miller,
I have no further questions.
Okay, anybody else have a question? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, item approved. Next item.
Item BC 2020-216, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division, recommending awards on various purchase orders and enter into agreements with various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $10,598.93 for the Community Diversion Program for the period March 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, with the City of Broadview Heights in the amount not to exceed $1,211.31, with the City of South Euclid in the amount not to exceed $3,633.92, City of Parma Heights in the amount not to exceed $4,693.81, and the Village of Moreland Hills in the amount not to exceed $1,059.89.
Good morning, this is Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. These are our annual Community Diversion Program agreements. This is only 4 out of the 50 or so that we have. For this term, we actually took a different approach into allocating the amount of dollars to each city. So what we did this year was we looked at last year's referrals and we took the percentage of youth referred to those cities over the total budget that we have for this program. And that's how we kind of came up with the allocations for each city going forward. So it's a little bit more based upon the actual referrals that they're getting and the youth that they're serving.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
You can go to ccbh.net and learn.
All those, seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-217, Sheriff's Department, submitting an RFP exemption on a purchase order, which will result in an award recommendation to Gordon Food Service in the amount not to exceed $2,108.70 for the purchase of mixed vegetables, and be recommending an award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning. Tanisha Gakes with the Sheriff's Department requesting approval for RFP exemption regarding an award to GFS. This purchase is a result of overage for the third quarter POs and mixed vegetables for the Cuyahoga County Jail. The original PO was awarded to a vendor who could not deliver. This resulted in a duplicate order being submitted and causing the overage of $2,108.70. The overage was not identified until the end of the fourth quarter, during the time all procurement processing was placed on hold. After working out the new procurement processing procedures, this was the soonest we were able to get the item in front of the board. Just to address a few of the questions that we received prior to the meeting, we are ordering less food due to the inmate population being lower. We are seeing savings due to the ordering less. A lot of the POs are not being exhausted. These are the third and fourth quarter requests for the approved purchases that exceeded planned quantities. Yes, we have reminded the staff to stay within the approved limits, so we shouldn't have any more overages due to items being ordered over the approved amounts. Are there any more requests like this in the pipeline that we will be receiving? And no, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board to Tanisha?
Yes, I have a few questions.
Sure.
If the original order, they were not able to deliver, how does sending this order result in an overage?
From my understanding, the original order was sent to the original vendor. That vendor was unable to complete the order or deliver the mixed vegetables, and somehow that order was sent to the new vendor and kind of never deleted or deducted from the total amount approved. So it duplicated as far as like requesting it twice, just from two different vendors.
So you got twice what you bargained for.
Sorta, yes. We got 2 times as many as we requested because it was sent to 2 different vendors, and then it actually ended up being sent twice to the new vendor.
And are the vegetables fresh or frozen?
These are frozen.
So you're able to keep them as long as needed without spoilage until they're all used. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that was what happened here in this case.
Okay, any further questions?
No further questions.
Okay, any other board member?
Hi, Tanisha, this is Trevor. Could you quantify how much in savings approximately that we're seeing with the lower count of inmates?
I can't off the top of my head. I can get that number for you and send it over to you as far as for the first quarter, for sure, of 2020. No problem.
If you can make sure Donna includes that in her reduction as well. Okay, any further questions? None? I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-218, Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption on a purchase order, which will result in an award recommendation to Good Source Solutions in the amount not to exceed $1,560 for the purchase of drink mix, and be recommending an award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning again. Tanisha with the Sheriff's Department requesting approval for RFP exemption resulting in an award to Good Source. This purchase is the result of an overage for the third quarter POs for mixed drinks in the Cuyahoga County Jail. This overage is due to the vendor's overshipment, resulting in an overage of $1,560. With the new procurement system, this should help to avoid these situations in the future. We have also reminded vendors and staff to stay within our approved PO limits. The overage was not identified until the end of the fourth quarter, during the time all procurement processing was also placed on hold. After working out the new procurement processing procedures, this was also the soonest that we were able to get the item in front of the board for approval to pay.
Okay, are there any questions in this item?
Yes, this is Dale. And could you describe the drink mix?
I've never actually seen a drink mix, sorry, Councilman. I believe it is powder packets that the inmates are allowed to use with water, so it gives them a different flavor for their water, like more of a water enhancement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none. Trevor?
This is Dale.
Oh.
And my question is, have we used up all the drink mix? And if not, how long will it be before it's used up?
I do not believe we've used it all up, and I wouldn't know exactly how long it would take for them to deplete that supply.
Would you find out and let us know?
I sure can.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions from the board members? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-219, Department of Regional Collaboration, recommending an award on a purchase order and enter into a contract with Squire Patton Boggs in the amount not to exceed $225,000 for federal advocacy services for the period April 20th, 2020 through April 19th, 2023.
Yes, this is Michelle Pomerantz, Director of Regional Collaboration. Asking for consideration of approval for federal advocacy. We had interviewed 9 potential federal advocacy lobbyists and through the process picked Squire Patton Boggs. And this is something that will go from 4/20/2020 to 4/19/2023 if approved.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any questions on this item?
Mike,
Yes,
it's
I have a
Trevor.
question. This is, oops,
Nan, go ahead, Nan. Councilman Baker.
I'm walking out of my office because my other phone is ringing. All right. My question is on this. We had a lobbyist that was hired for the state, and I did read the answers as to now hiring a separate lobbyist for federal. Is this a different, I can't go by memory, is this a different law firm that we are hiring for the federal strategic plan and lobbyist?
Yes, Councilwoman, this is Michelle, and yes, this is Squire Patton Boggs, the state advocacy group that we hired is Kegler Brown, but they've been working, well, they haven't working yet, but they know of each other and will be collaborating when necessary for state and federal opportunities to support the county.
Did they offer a bid on going also to the federal level?
No.
No, they didn't. Okay.
Mm-mm. Much to my chagrin, but no, they did not. They, Squire Patton Boggs only applied for federal, and Kegler Brown only applied for state.
And going by your answers here, this is a 3-year plan. So the $225,000 covers 3 years, and it is including not only is it their person that will physically go to Washington to talk to our congressman, and it also includes a sitting down of a strategic plan as to what it is that we are trying to accomplish, and also the coronavirus that has money that's coming our way. I mean, how much of this $225,000 is really included in making sure that we have representation?
We have a point person that will be in Washington, D.C., and we also have someone at the state level from Squire Patton Boggs that will connect. And so we expect not only our current delegation, but a deeper connection with members of Congress and agencies at the federal level beyond those who represent only Ohio.
Okay. All right. I agree that we should have representation. 3 years seems to be more than perhaps, was our state contract for 3 years also?
Yes, and we do have a 30-day clause in the contract if we want to terminate the contract early for any reason.
Okay, and the focus, I believe, in your answer, as far as the strategic plan goes, is to focus more on infrastructure.
No, it's cross-level between health and human services, public works, development and opportunity zones, as well as public works and infrastructure and road and bridge. We also have an emphasis on streamlining and tightening up on grants and hopefully maximizing the grant opportunities for Cuyahoga County across departments.
Okay, what is the percentage paid then by Public Works in this funding source?
Cuyahoga, Public Works pays 75,000, and the executives department paid 25,000 per year. So that would be 75,000 for the executive and 75 times 3 for the Public Works.
So that's each year.
Michelle, it's Nicole English from Public Works. I believe it was 75 total per year, and 50 is coming from Public Works, and 25 is coming from the executive.
Okay.
That's correct. Public Works is 50, and then the 25 is coming from the executive per year. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Trevor, do you have a question?
Yes, this is Dale, and I have a comment and a question. The comment is if there was ever a time when we need federal representation, this is it. And the question is that the phase 4 of the coronavirus assistance, the talk out of Washington is that what they're talking about includes additional assistance for small business. It includes assistance for hospitals, and it also includes some money for testing. But it does not include any direct assistance for state and local government. And my question is whether we are currently lobbying the federal government to include direct assistance for counties in the next item and package, and if so, how we're doing it.
So we, the executive and I have been on calls with our federal senators and members of Congress in the past few days. We've been working with NACO and had a conference call Saturday on exactly that same item to help support local revenue loss refunds in the package. So we're hearing, and it's very day-to-day, late at night calls about trying to make sure that we can do some revenue loss. But right now we're currently working with our federal legislators, Senator Portman, Senator Brown, Congresswoman Capter, Congresswoman Fudge's office, as well as Congressman Gonzalez. And after this contract, we'll be able to do it a little more deeply with Squire Patton Boggs and some of the connections that they have.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions?
This is Nan Baker.
Nan, go ahead, please.
Following up on Councilman Miller, the PPP funding and the disasters funding coming from the federal government, that has been, at least it does seem like for the very small businesses, has not been too successful. And I'm wondering, is there going to be an involvement in those two programs to find out how that can work for Cuyahoga County? If those fundings are going to be coming, what the problems are? Are they taking a deeper dive into those, that when constituents call our hotline number and ask about federal programs, will we have better answers to tell them?
Well, the nature of the federal lobbyist is not going to necessarily be drilled down to calls to the call center, but there will be considerable collaboration between Ted Carter and Paul and the folks who are in charge of development, as well as Sarah Parks Jackson around HUD. So wherever the experts are at the county, they will be able to have opportunities to have a deeper dive with the federal lobbyists so that we can provide those better supports. But yes, we've been talking around PPP, about different types of revenue, about the lack of the funding that's already gone out, and most of it to large companies, not small companies, for PPP. We've got calls on with the treasurer, Steve Mnuchin, and trying to make sure that we are connecting as many dots as possible around the CARES Act with all the departments that it touches.
Thank you. And I would expect that you would talk to the leadership of, of economic development, and I wouldn't expect you to go down to the call center, but at least the information is known that they can go down to the call center and
Yes.
give perhaps maybe better answers, other than I don't know, or I'm not sure why small businesses aren't getting the dollars, or perhaps there'll be a date when we start seeing those small businesses receiving those dollars. Right now, that seems to be what's in front of us more than anything else, is the PPP and the disastrous funds of 10,000 that people have, and small businesses like flower shops and hair salons and barbers have not seen at all. So I would hope there'd be a focus there too.
We'll make sure to make that a focus as well. And then I'll be the person that'll help coordinate the communication between the lobbyists and the department so that we can make sure that the executive and members of council get all of it regardless of what department.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
Trevor, do you want to ask?
Thanks, Mike. The advanced questions and responses we got to this item's considered a walk-on. Do we know when this will be completed through the ERP process, and what's the holdup?
I believe that it is no longer a walk-on. We have implemented it through the Lawson Enforce system and have had the required checkoffs and sign-offs by the procurement department.
Okay. And then the question or the answer you gave us, Michelle, said that we have not been billed for any work prior to the approval of this contract. How does the billing work? Is it a set fee per month, or are we billed on hours worked, or how's the billing work?
The billing will be working just the same as the state advocacy, which is a monthly billing, which will go, they'll send us an invoice, and legal department will actually be the ones that submit the checks.
Okay, and is this contract technically in the county executive's budget, or the law department's budget, or your budget? Do we know where this contract sits?
Well, it sits in between, it sits in the executive's office, but it also, because of the shared costs with Public Works and with the governance of the legal department, I think there may be some ties to it in that. But in terms of executive budget numbers, it's the executive and Public Works. My budget is, doesn't touch my budget at all. I don't have one.
And then the last question is the formula for the contract, the 33% general fund, 66% Public Works. Is that the same for previous federal lobbyist contracts, or does it differ for this one?
I'm not aware of any previous federal contracts, so I'm not sure.
How about, do you know how it compares to the state?
The state is all executive funding.
All general fund?
All general fund, yes, sorry.
So that was helpful. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the board?
Yes, I have two follow-up questions. First, to follow up on Trevor's question, I was not clear about the answer as to whether the monthly amount that we pay is a set amount that we'll pay regardless of the amount of services that are provided, or will the amount be billed according to the amount of services provided, with the contract amount being a not to exceed number?
I believe it's a monthly payment toward the contract, and some months they'll work a lot more, some might not be as busy, but it'll be a monthly retainer amount.
So we pay the same thing every month regardless?
Correct.
Okay. The second question is, I'd like to follow up on Nan's question, and if Nan could say a little bit more about what the problems are that the small businesses are having with the PPP program. Is it a matter of that they can't get applications submitted, or is it that they can get applications submitted but they don't get the money for a long time, or is it that the kind of assistance provided does not fit their needs, or the assistance is not sufficient? Could you say a little bit more about what you've encountered?
Sure. Thanks, Dale. Yes, the businesses that I'm talking to, and mostly small business, they are able to apply, and it's relatively simple, and their application is taken. It's waiting to hear whether or not they've been accepted, and after they've heard whether they've been accepted, what funds they will be receiving. So it's really the most important part of this, and I'm not sure if Michelle will concur that she's heard the same thing. It does seem that preference is given to large corporations who perhaps have better resources to obtain the money, but those small businesses that are doing it themselves and going online and following the directions, they're applying all right. They're getting through. They're registered. They just have not been able to get a response or not receive any funding. Michelle, is that your experience?
Yes, exactly that there are big businesses, and I just want to preface this by saying this package came out very quickly, and because of the expediency, a lot of the details at the federal level weren't worked out with the local lenders in a lot of ways, and as a result, and the guidance came out much later, and it was first come, first served, there were a lot of problems with the rollout. The intent was great, but it seems as though there are big businesses that probably have more connections and also more ability to get those funds as quickly as possible, or the winners versus the small local businesses, which either they did not have as much opportunity to get their request in, or they weren't chosen. And because this is coming from the Treasury, which is also unique instead of coming from other agencies, there were just there's still a lot of need from our small businesses who were kind of left out.
Yeah. If I may add, as I said, it's not the ability, and I think many businesses, small businesses, got on quickly. I don't think they spent time thinking about it. As soon as the website opened, they got on it, and first come, first served should have given them the opportunity to receive the dollars. For reasons why I'm not sure about lineup, but the problem is that they're registered and have heard nothing and have received nothing. And that's where I'm hoping, if we're going to spend money on a federal lobbyist, if that could be a priority to look into why it is our small businesses have not received, have not even been acknowledged whether they qualify to receive the funding. Which was really, I believe, was the intent to hit. It was supposed to be a 50% of our businesses are small business. So the intent was to address the small businesses more than the large ones, but it just didn't work out that way.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay.
I heard this morning that one large retail chain returned $10 million back to the federal government and said other people need the money more than we do. We have access to credit.
Yes, the Shake Shack.
Right.
Decided to give it back, which was good.
Okay, board members, any further questions?
Mike, this is Trevor. One more for Michelle, please. Michelle, do we have, or how are the conversations going with them regarding the federal government issuing guidelines around the CARES Act for what the money can be used for the counties? What are they saying on it being potentially used for lost revenue?
We talk to them almost every day, and ask them to look to see if they can let us know as soon as possible about guidance. So far, we can only use this for COVID-19 related expenses. We're continuing to advocate for either the next plan, which I don't think is going to happen, can give us the flexibility for revenue loss, or an amendment that can change the current plan so that we can use it for revenue loss. So far, we don't have any guidance yet from the Treasury on how to use this, and so we're being very cautious to make sure that we don't use anything that we won't be able to get paid back. To your earlier question, hopefully the call center will be something we can use it for, but we don't know yet, and we're asking them to. That's like our number one priority, to get that clarity as soon as possible.
Thanks.
Okay, I will now make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item, please.
We're moving on to consent items, BC 2020-220 through 224.
Board members, if you take a couple of seconds here to take a look and let me know if you have any questions. Are there any questions?
Yes, this is Nan Baker.
Yes, go ahead, Nan.
And I had a question on the 221, the Department of Sustainability. And I appreciate the call that I got from Mike Foley explaining more in depth, and his answer here too is certainly a more in-depth answer than what we received. My concern was spending, I believe this is $200,000 on a brand new it's on a new project, although we've been talking about it, and it's not that it's a surprise to us. But I question whether we should be taking not only the money, but also the personnel resources and invest it right now outside of what we just finished talking about, with all the need, even beyond business need, residents need, and those that are in need of services that I know we are depleting pretty quickly. So I don't know. I mean, I see the good and the caution in this particular ask. Are we, I guess I'm going to ask, being I can't see you, are my colleagues thinking that this is the right time to invest the $200,000, even though I know it's coming from Cleveland Foundation? It's still dollars that are being spent on something outside of the immediate emergency and of what it is that we're dealing with. I just want to at least have a conversation about it.
Okay, well, this is Dale, and I'll comment on this. I think what's being proposed represents sound economic development strategy. The one thing you hear more than anything else about economic development is that any community should ask, well, what are its unique assets? What does it have that not everybody else has, and how do you take advantage of those things? And certainly our proximity to clean, fresh water is probably the most important special asset that we have, and it's only going to become more and more important as time goes on. And so I think the opportunity to receive outside funding to pursue this kind of economic development work is a favorable opportunity, and that we should take advantage of it.
And I understand that. If Mike Foley is there,
Yep, I'm on.
How much of county funds, after we get past this initial grant, are there any county funds outside, of course, the people that are working on this project and paying for those people, but is there any additional dollars that we will have to add to this project once we get it started, given it's a new program?
And look, I just want to reiterate, this is kind of a time-limited project, right? So the goal is to have this, kind of marketing, plan basically ready by next first quarter, the end of first quarter of 2021. So in the overall budget, we anticipate will be around $240,000.
Cleveland Foundation is kicking in $200,000, which is what this grant award is for. Greater Cleveland Partnership is going to kick in 20, and then we would come. Sustainability would come to you for 20,000 for that, for the total project cost as well, and that would come out of the Sustainability Fund, not the general fund.
All right, thank you. Remember that. I will support this project. I'm just a little reluctant on the timing. There's so much uncertainty out there. I know our economic development dollars that were going to go to one place to try to enhance our economy is now going on helplines and trying to figure out how we can get dollars from the federal and state government. And it really has changed its whole focus. I just a little reluctant, but I agree with Councilman Miller. I think that when this is over, and also Mr. Foley has also commented that we will be in a position that we can launch it rather than starting it in 2021. So for that, I'll be supporting this.
Any further questions, comments?
Hi, Mike. This is Trevor. Just to follow up for Nan's point, to Director Foley, this is only the acceptance of the grants, correct? This won't spend any money at this point, right? The contract will come at a later date?
Yeah, so we've got, Trevor, this is Mike Foley, I'm sorry. So, yeah, so this is the process to accept the money, and then we're working on the contract right now, and hopefully we'll have that in front of you guys in another, hopefully within the next month.
Thanks.
And the contract will be with Cleveland Water Lines.
Okay, Trevor, any further?
No, Mike, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Foley. Yes, Nan, go ahead.
And I guess that's my point to this, is that once we get in, and this is a new undertaking, so once we get into the new undertaking and accept the grant fundings, then we're in. There's no way we're going to say no to $20,000, or even if there's more that's needed at that time, because we're already $200,000 in, grant or no grant. That was my really concern about doing something at this point, in April of 2020, when we're probably seeing the worst, hopefully the worst, and perhaps waiting a few months to see where we are in July or August, and hopefully we see that, we're rebounding. But that was really, that's my concern, is starting a new program, taking money from other sources, and then now we're in, and we need to supplement it. And at this point, $20,000 isn't a huge investment, but at this point, any money, I think, can be spent on a lot of different things where people are in need. But having said that, I will still move ahead and support this. I guess I just wanted to put on the record that I'm just trying to be cautious.
Okay, understood and noted. I will go ahead then and make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I will second for we're doing the whole consent agenda, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Joe. Thank you. Unless there's any further questions, I know we got stuck in that one item. I apologize. Any further questions on the consent agenda? Okay, then I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda. Dale, you second it?
Yes, I second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to any other business?
Yes, we have one-time sensitive mission critical request. Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award on requisition 1090 to Red River Hospital in the amount not to exceed $24,999.99 for emergency placement services for the period December 14th, 2019 through January 3rd, 2020.
Good morning. Emily Lockstein, Health and Human Services, on behalf of Children and Family Services, presenting this mission critical this morning for a 17-year-old female who was placed at Red River Hospital, which is a leading provider of inpatient and outpatient behavioral health care located in Wichita Falls, Texas. They offer specialized programs that address drug and alcohol addiction and co-occurring mental illness. This youth has multiple and co-occurring diagnoses, including autism, bipolar, ADHD, PTSD, anxiety, cannabis use disorder, mild and schizoaffective disorder, hypothyroidism, and has had one non-epileptic seizure while in custody. This placement was required because at a previous placement, she was refusing medication, attacked staff and peers, destroyed property, injured multiple staff to the point that police involvement had to occur, at which point she was transferred to this facility in Texas.
Okay, I am going to make a motion to amend today's items to include this mission critical item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the agenda has been amended to include this item. Are there any questions on this item?
This is Nan Baker.
Go ahead, Nan.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the time period and the dollar amount, and then I don't think we mentioned the age of the child.
Yes, the time period is December 14th, 2019 through January 3rd, 2020. It is for a 17-year-old female.
17-year-old? And okay, and what was the amount?
Oh, $24,999.
So I would assume that you're going to amend your master contract to include this firm?
Yes,
And this was just for the initial placement, I'm guessing, correct?
that is correct.
Okay, go ahead, Councilwoman Baker.
Just checking on those dates. So this is already past 12/4/19 to 1/3/2020. So we're paying after the fact?
So typically with these mission critical placements is the placement occurs immediately. And so through this process, we're allowed to retroactively pay the provider once we move through our appropriate channels.
And I guess it ends January 3rd, 2020. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Is there time now from January to today that child still is in need of this service?
No, this child is with another placement.
Is that placement within the, is it within our structure?
With a current provider, that information I do not have with me, but I can get that and get back to you.
I just wonder what happened to this child after January 3rd?
Sure. Because of some staff working from home, they don't have access to all systems. So I can talk to DCFS and see if I can get that information for you.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Councilman Miller? Yeah.
Yes. So you said this item runs from December 20th to January 3rd. Did I hear that correctly?
December 14th.
December 14th to January 3rd.
Yes, that's correct.
So does that mean that we expended $24,999 in less than 3 weeks?
No, $24,999 is just the typical dollar amount that we utilize for these mission criticals, just to allow for up to $24,999.
And do we know what the cost per day was at this facility?
Yes, it's $873 per day. This is considered an acute hospital placement, which makes it slightly more expensive. That includes a room and board rate of $255, a daily hospital rate of $595, and because of this child's severe needs, it requires a one-on-one staff-to-youth placement, and that is an additional $23 per day.
And Do we know when it was that this child was transferred out of this facility to another placement?
Based on what I have, it looks like January 3rd of 2020.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions from the board?
Yes.
I just have one question. I'm sorry.
I would like, if you could find out for us how much was actually expended and let us know.
Sure. Absolutely.
Councilman Baker?
That was my question.
Oh, very good. All right, hearing no further questions in this item, I will make a motion to approve this mission critical item. Do I have a second?
I'll second Nan Baker.
I'll give it to Nan Baker. I think she beat you, Dale. Seconded by Councilman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, item approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
Is there anyone on the line who wishes to make public comment?
Okay, hearing none. I am going to, I think we're going to go back to starting the week, do the Border Control weekly. I think we're getting a lot more items in. Hopefully the board has no objections to that.
Be fine with me, Nan Baker.
Okay.
Me too. It's fine with me as long as we're meeting remotely and we're safe here. It's fine.
Okay, great. Trevor, you're good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, having said that, then I will make a motion.
This is Tom Pavich with Public Works. Lenora or Sharon, I know I had discussed an item with you this morning. Were we going to proceed with that as a walk-on?
You didn't leave anything with me, Tom.
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. Time-sensitive mission criticals can be presented by the department. If you would.
But
read into the record.
If you have a time-sensitive item, it should be here. We just did one.
Yeah, I had given it to Shankita on her way upstairs, I believe.
She's not here today.
Shankita's not attending the meeting due to social distancing. Do you want a 20
Okay,
or 30-second pause?
Yeah, I would like to present a walk-on today.
Okay, I didn't formally adjourn. Did I formally adjourn? Oh, I already adjourned the meeting, didn't I? No? Okay, sorry. Okay, if you can bear with us one more second, board members.
Absolutely, and I apologize.
All right, Tom.
I apologize again on behalf of myself, Public Works. Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. I'm looking to present a walk-on item. The item, the requisition is 48318. The dollar amount is $18,930.00. The vendor is DLT. The service is Engineers and Architect Design Products. Public Works, we utilize Autodesk. It's a software program that our engineers and architects utilize to design, analyze, and diagnose various designs related to roads and bridges. We've used this software for many years. The issue we ran into, we'll almost say it's a perfect storm. The company that owns the software program, there's a designer of the software program, a company owner, and then there's a reseller. The company that owns the software is actually changing the entire program May 5th. What that means is the software that we currently use has different components. For the sake of conversation, we'll say ABC. What the owner of the software is doing is they're changing that package to, sake of conversation, A, B, D, E, and F. So they're actually changing the different components of the package that Public Works currently utilizes. Our road and bridge guys, they've been reviewing the new software over the past few weeks. Those new components are not needed. So what they're doing is they're offering companies the option to renew the current software and keep that current software, which for the sake of conversation, package A, B, and C, at that price of $18,930. If we don't renew and have a payment to this vendor by May 5th, we would be subject to the new program, and we have to outright purchase it, and that we're looking at six figures. We're looking at I'm trying to figure out. We're looking at over $100,000 just to regain licenses under the new model. we received a quote less than 2 months ago. We started taking action, and then we started talking with the owner, the actual company, and they had started explaining the different components that are changing. And then you factor in, this all started happening in March with the COVID-19. It didn't just impact county employees, but impacted the vendor as well with limited time, limited capability. So what we're looking to do is walk on the purchase or the renewal of the software program at that cost of $18,930, which will ensure a payment to this vendor by May 5th. I would hope we'd be able to get, if it gets approved today, we get it in the system later today. We're able to get a check cut to this vendor by May 5th so we can renew it and we don't lose that opportunity, and then we have to outright purchase with different components that don't necessarily are needed by the county.
Hi, Tom. This is Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. My understanding you were doing a time-sensitive mission critical because this item...
Yes. So the answer to that is yes. So we had issued a PO to the vendor, but they're still looking to secure an actual payment by the May 5th. So that's why we would like to do the mission critical or walk on this item today, so we get in the system, get the money encumbered at some point later this week, and get the check cut by May 5th. Going forward, obviously, we've talked to the actual owner or the actual company, and they said you can continue renewing. But if it doesn't get renewed, in the coming years, you'd have to, renew under the new model. So this was just, I don't want to use the word perfect storm because one of my employees used that term, but as far as the vendor changing their entire software model, the COVID-19 impacting not just staff here but staff at the vendor, out in the field. So that's kind of why we've gotten to this point. Where we'd like to renew it so we don't have to pay extra money for components of the software that we don't necessarily need.
Okay, hold on a second, Tom. Now, you authorized it already to the vendor. You gave them a purchase order, so you went ahead and authorized it. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we've given them a PO, but they're also saying, we need to get payment too.
Okay. Go ahead, Lenora.
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. When you introduced the item, you gave a requisition number. We need the N4 requisition and PO number. That's the official record. Operating system.
Okay.
That's
I do not have that. I mean, that would have to get in the system later today. The requisition we gave was buy speed. We did put that in buy speed as an informal bid. We did the 2-hour minimum for mission criticals. It went to 83 vendors. We had no inquiries. So that's the only requisition I have. If this were to be approved, we'd have to get that in the system this afternoon. One of my staff would have to do that, to ensure it gets, processed, encumbered, timely, and, a check cut, at some point.
For the record, we do need the N4 number for future. I understand you're doing time-sensitive mission criticals, but any future purchases, recs, the requisition number and the purchase order number needs to be in our official system, which is the N4 number.
Understand.
Understood. So, Tom, I want to make sure I got it so I can present to the board. We're doing a time-sensitive mission critical to DLT in the amount of $18,930, basically for your AutoCAD subscriptions.
That's correct.
And the time-sensitive is that the price will substantially increase if we don't get it done now, which is justifying your time-sensitive. Okay, I will open this up to the board. First off, I want to once again amend today's agenda to include this item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I will second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so it's been amended and added to today's agenda. So are there any questions, board members?
Yes, this is Dale.
Sure.
And my question is, how long of a renewal do we get for our $18,000?
It's for 1 year for multiple licenses. We've got multiple employees in our road and bridge design department, engineers and architects that use this. It's good for 1 year. Obviously it's going to be, pop up on our calendar earlier next year to make sure we can still work with the vendor on a renewal, and at some point we don't have to outright go to the new revised package, we'll call it. And I'm gonna be honest, it's very confusing. But there's different programs that those guys utilize. But this renewal will go for 1 year into next year.
Okay, further questions, Councilman or members?
No, that'll be good for me.
Nan, Trevor? No? Okay.
The only question we have, and only because I'm not, it's the first I've heard of it, had a chance to really read about it. Is this, do we need ERP acceptability? Is there any issue where in a year's time it may change as to whether or not this is useful, or we'll have
jump in?
Where are
Nicole.
we in compatibility?
Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, I can talk. Nicole English with Public Works. This is not related to the ERP system. It's actually design software that our engineers use to draw up plans. So it doesn't need an interface with ERP. It's a separate system altogether. This is a universally used software in the industry.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, further questions? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve this mission critical item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I will second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, it's approved.
Thank you.
With that, I believe now there is no public comment, no further items. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Nicole English. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.